Welcome to the Managing the Smart Mind podcast with your host, Coach Kramer. This is episode 62, an interview with Naomi Dunford, part 1. Welcome, Smart Human. On this week's episode, I'm talking to Naomi Dunford, the founder of Ittybiz. And Ittybiz is a business I've been following since around 2007, probably. So they've been in business for a while. Naomi, in addition to being incredibly smart, is Romani Canadian. She's a small business coach and internet marketing veteran. And as you'll learn during this conversation, she actually got 1,000 people to quit their day jobs before she even turned 30. She also has both autism and ADHD and has always been a digital nomad. She unschools her teenager and she flat out refuses to use social media. Yes, people, it is possible to run a very successful business and not be on social media. Now, in this first part of the interview, we talk about how being unemployable can be a great reason to start a business, what she has learned about hiring people and how to manage them, especially with ADHD, the Cheerios effect, the myth of if you build it, they will come. Yeah, reality is slightly more complicated. How being rebellious and pissed off can actually help you create amazing products. We talk about adulting and some stories about the early days of internet marketing. So enjoy this first part. All right. Welcome to the Managing the Smart Mind podcast, Naomi Dunford. First of all, where are you currently speaking from? Where are you in the world?
I am in southwestern Ontario in Canada. I'm a couple hours west of Toronto.
Amazing. Okay. I am so tempted to start talking about Canadian food.
The weather is what everybody wants to talk about. It is unseasonably warm and it should be reaching close to summer temperatures for approximately a week when it will drop back out down to spring. That's what everybody wants to know about Canada.
And also what we want to know, like, how the hell do you survive winter?
It helps if you have an affection for cute, cozy clothes. That's helpful. Like if you really like blankets and hot beverages, you'll do well in this country.
So good.
We have very open immigration. Yes, we have very open immigration laws. So by all means, stop by, bring some blankets.
Bring your blankets. So
yeah.
Listen, one of the many reasons I wanted to talk to you is I have been actively following you. I don't even know because my email archive doesn't go that far back. Could it be 2007 or is that?
It could be.
Yep. Oh,
that was when it started.
Oh my God. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So Naomi is a person who actually helped me find my voice with like even my previous businesses.
I'm sorry about that.
Yeah.
Listeners. I didn't know what she would become.
Right. She helped me find my voice. She helped me like do marketing in a non-sleazy, actually super fun way through her business called Ittybiz. Do you want to just take us through sort of how you started Ittybiz and why?
Yeah, absolutely. I am terminally unemployable, as I'm sure many of the people with whom you spend time on.
Amen.
And I knew that if I remained in the official workforce, TM, that my salary cap would be offensively low. Mm-hmm. And I was pregnant and on maternity leave. And I started really watching a lot of these blogs that were becoming professional. And people had blogs about copywriting and blogs about blogging. There's a lot of blogs about blogging. And blogs about affiliate marketing and all these ways to it was just sort of a slightly more respectable version of make money online. And as my pregnancy continued, I realized that the likelihood of me being able to continue to go back to work was getting progressively lower. And I decided that I was going to start one of my own. And the one area that they didn't have was small business. They talked about elements of small business, but they didn't talk about small business itself. And at that time, the generally accepted, the government's position on what was a small business was, I think, less than $10 million in revenue and fewer than 500 employees.
That's hilarious.
And I was like, oh, well, that covers it.
Yeah.
And I come from a background of entrepreneurs, so it's something that I know pretty intuitively and intimately. And you combine that with enjoying writing. I was freelance writing, and that was another big thing at the time. And I sort of combined those and created Ittybiz. Before that, I had tried to start a local marketing consultancy. I got one
I didn't
client.
even know that.
Yeah, I got one client. He never paid me. Somebody asked me later, did you ever follow up with him? I was like, no, because now I can't tell that story.
Exactly.
Keep your money, buddy.
Because Ittybiz became like wildly successful. So what changed?
As in going from one client who didn't pay to wildly successful?
Like an insanely successful online business.
It was definitely the right time. I had a very unique voice.
Still do.
Thank you. It was a good time to come in with a fresh perspective and tackling topics that people weren't tackling. It was a very, very much needed resource at the time.
And I think actually it still is.
I think so. I hope so.
Yeah, for sure.
And so I've made some poor career choices.
Well, I mean, just the fact that you've been in business, right, with the same kind of basic proposition for so many years. Yeah. That is a testament, I think, to how much.
I think it's 16 years now. It's coming up on 16 years.
Yeah. Insane. Right. And what were those first kind of wild days, like in the blogging internet, right? Oh God, you can make money typing stuff like from home. What was that like for you?
It was madness. It was an ADHD dream come true. It was the perfect environment for people who like to start things right now, publish them today, go, go, go.
Right, get the dopamine hits.
Yeah. Oh, it was just a dopamine factory. And social media was just coming on the scene. So you could access people you couldn't otherwise access. And it was right now, and you got pings right now. Yeah, it was the kind of thing that is perfect for a young brain with undiagnosed ADHD. For the rest of the world, they looked on going, how can you do it? And I was looking going, how could you not? But, theory of mind. You eventually realize not everyone is identical to you. But at the time, yes, it was like the Wild West. It was like you struggled in your backyard.
Amazing. Yeah. And when did you realize that this was actually a thing? Like, rather than just, a lot of fun for a couple of months?
Oh, it was going to be a thing. It had to be a thing. Okay. This was my Hail Mary. I had no other options.
This had to be the thing. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, it was this or bust.
So you made it work.
Yeah.
As a coach would say.
Yeah. I'm very coachy.
Made it work. Yeah. When did you start thinking, oh, maybe it would be nice to get someone else on board?
In about 10 minutes. And that was actually less to do with anything to do with workload. Back at the time, I did everything myself, and I was thrilled to. It was very empowering. But my husband at the time worked in a lackluster job, and I decided that now, see, I have a better idea than that. You should come and work with me all the time. And I mean, with predictable results, but it just was so much fun back then. And it was like I wanted to spread the good word. I was just like, come work for me. Behold, behold what I have built.
Behold, this is possible, humans. Yeah.
So
did you hire other people after him, or was it just?
I did.
How many?
I don't even remember. A lot. We've had, well, let's put it this way. If you email Ittybiz's customer service now, you may still end up in an inbox, which is ninjas@ittybiz.com. And we called our customer service department ninjas because it was not necessarily knowable who would be answering that day.
Right.
And so, yeah, we had a ton of people, especially back in that sort of first 7 years. I started making it more lean as I went on, realizing that a lot of it wasn't necessary. and that managing people was actually far more difficult for me than the other elements of my work. I'm a terrible boss, truly dreadful.
That was going to be my next question, right? First of all, how did you find these people? Were they also smart humans? I'm guessing they were. And then how the hell did you manage to manage them?
Have you heard of the Cheerio effect?
No.
Okay. So it's like an actual science term, and it's actually called the Cheerio effect. And the idea is when you put Cheerios in a bowl and there's only a few Cheerios left, they flock together. And so if you just leave them there for long enough, they will like pseudo-magnetically reach out so that they're like Cheerio cuddling. And that's, I think, what smart, non-traditional, slightly subversive people do. And so I did not find them. They found me.
Interesting.
I think I've hired like 2 or 3 people through traditional means, and it just wasn't the same. There's a lot of sort of limerence and instant attraction that is felt when we see someone doing something that really resonates with us. So people came to me. So that is the answer on how I found them. They found me.
I mean, if we were like super woo, we'd say you manifested them, which, by the way, I think is the most disgusting term ever to use about people. That's a whole nother podcast.
Screw you and your pesky autonomy. I manifested you in my subjective reality.
Magnetically attracted them.
So I did not find them. They found me, is my answer to your first question. And my answer to your second question, how did I manage them? Very, very badly.
And gives an example of that. Like, how did you know you were managing them badly? What did that
and most of the time I found it long after the fact. It was retrospective that I was like, yeah, I really screwed that one up. I did not understand that the way I thought was actually in many cases hyperfocus. And so I thought that was thinking. And I looked around me and said, right, you think. Therefore, you must think identically to me, right? Makes perfect sense. And so my deadlines and timelines and switching projects, I just didn't see what the problem was. I was like, okay, now we're doing this.
Right. So the pivots, like every half hour, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it was whiplash. It was a whiplash roller coaster. It was fun. It was intense, but burnout rate was high.
Yeah, I get that. And I think that's a problem for lots of smart entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, and especially those of us with ADHD, I would say, because we do tend to pivot quite often, right?
It's been known to happen.
Yeah, it's been known to happen. Which brings you to, when did you figure out about ADHD, autism, all the things, and how?
I found out about ADHD first. One of the benefits of having a network of contacts made up of smart people who like psychology is that you end up with a pretty expansive network of smart people who, many of whom have psychology degrees. And so I have a pretty expansive network of people who were like, do you think maybe you might, I don't know, want to ask someone? I mean, I'm just throwing it out there. So I found out about ADHD first, and I was absolutely shocked.
Why?
ADHD to me was 7-year-old boys who run around a lot.
Right. Who just can't sit still, the sort of traditional image we get. Yeah, exactly.
And I was very much the inattentive type. I just stared at the wall having ideas all day, and I have since I was born.
Yeah.
And so I found out about that first. I was shocked. I was very upset. I did not handle that news very well. But once I kind of took it on, I'm in marketing, so you can kind of make it part of the brand. And I was telling somebody, an artist that I know, I was telling them about this, and I was kind of revealing it as if I was having a confessional. I was like, yeah, well, I found out something really interesting about myself, all serious, like, right? And I said, I found out I have ADHD. And there's this long pause where one of the most upfront and direct people you'll ever meet in your life is clearly thinking, what is the right play here? And says, you didn't pay for that diagnosis, did you?
Best answer ever. Right?
I was like, oh, he's trying to be polite. And I'm having this moment where my entire career is flashing before my eyes going, everybody knows. Yeah, everybody knows. Okay, well, pivot.
Yep. And I have
So-
to, it is my experience. Like everybody knows, like the people you sort of mesh with really well know, and the other people may even be surprised because, you know, in their head, you're still that person who doesn't jump around a lot.
Yeah.
Did you have that experience as well? That people who don't know you that well were like, what? No.
No, the most experience I got was, you have ADHD? I might have ADHD. What do I do?
Yeah.
Yeah. The moment I said it, the floodgates opened of people going,
wow.
Okay, if that's ADHD, then I might have that.
Mm-hmm. And they might.
Yeah. And they might. And then autism was a few years later. I had a client who was diagnosed, and I did the absolute classic ableist, like, oh, I look back. Thank God I still know her and could apologize later.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, you don't have autism.
Yeah.
That's the first words out of my mouth. You don't have autism. And God bless her. She probably got that a lot because it was the same thing. You know, ADHD is 7-year-old boys who, you know, run around screaming all the time. And autism is like 11-year-old boys who only want to talk about trains.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or stack out like things in rows and
colors, and no social skills, or just the classic ableist stereotypes. Yeah. And so as she was talking, God bless her, there was just this tiny seed in my mind that went, okay, that's sounding really familiar. Okay, fair. I don't even remember what it was that she was describing at the time. It was just enough to give me a sort of eerie sense, which I, of course, ignored for probably 3 years. Yeah. And then, yes, I went through a semi-formal process because I didn't really care. I don't need an official diagnosis. I don't need workplace considerations. Yeah. Which is helpful for myself.
Yeah. And when it comes to being smart, how long have you known that? Is that like forever?
Since I was born.
Yeah, of course. Were you in the gifted program in school? How did that kind of play out?
Yes, I went to 13 schools, I think. We moved around a lot.
Wow.
Yeah.
13 schools.
Yeah. Amazing. Until I finally dropped out at 16 and went, you know, I'm good.
Yeah.
Yes, I was, when there was a gifted program, wherever I was in it. I also skipped 3 grades.
3. Wow.
3. Yeah.
So you were done at 16, right?
There was maybe a little, there were some delays.
Yeah.
But yes, so I think I ended up finishing like with like 2 credits left, and just in a fit of rebellion decided, forget it.
Did you ever want to go to college?
When I was young, it did not occur to me that there was an alternative. And it was still very much, I had very like early 90s rom-com coming of age movie ideas of what college was. And my brother is several years older than me, so he obviously went first, and I used to pore over his catalogs and just think like, philosophy of lesbianism. Yes.
Yeah.
And like, just like I just never occurred to me that you could study these things, and I was just eating it. Like, I used his course catalog like pornography. And then he went, and so he was involved in communities and things. So I would go to see his plays and see things like that. And I started realizing it was not what 1994 Hollywood had told me it would be.
Sure.
I know, right? Yes. Well, autistics are naive. So I started realizing that it wasn't quite what it said on the tin, but I was still down because I didn't really know what alternatives I had. But then I met boys, and I got a few temp jobs, and I'm, you know, back in the day, all you really needed to be able to do was type fast, and I could. So I made pretty good money for a 16-year-old high school dropout. And then I got pregnant, and all of those combined made me go, you know what? Never mind. I did go to graphic design college. I went for 6 weeks. And so we're doing a group project, and we have to look in our local neighborhood, and we're like, this person's going to take care of the, like, there's going to be like a little restaurant review, and then there's going to be, someone's going to do the graphics, and someone's going to do this. Obviously I took writing. And so I write all the stuff. And then I'm sitting there kind of waiting for one of my teammates to be done. And they're sort of going through and like moving these little tiny pixels and graphic just to make it all look perfect. And I was looking at her and I was like, if I had to do that, I would shoot myself. And she looks at me, and she's a mature student, which means she's probably 5 years older than me at the time, but whatever. 24 is old when you're 19.
Yeah.
And she looks at me like paragon of maturity. And she says, do you think maybe you're in the wrong program?
Genius.
And I just sat there and I just was like, yes.
Yeah.
Actually, yes. So I dropped out.
Yeah.
That's my higher education story.
Yeah. Love it. So that brings me to the next question. How do you educate yourself? How do you learn all this shit that you have obviously learned?
I read everything.
Do you sleep?
I do.
Okay.
I sleep a fairly common amount. I just fill every spare moment of my time with reading or some kind of like come down activity. I will absorb absurd amounts of information, and then I will stare at the dumbest phone game I can find.
To kind of balance it out.
Yep. And then I'll do that for 10 minutes, and then I'll go back and find something to read. I have usually in the high 2-digit, low 3-digit tabs on my phone and on my computer, and I just read everything.
Yeah, it's insane. I mean, and you share the most amazing stuff on your newsletter. I think in one of your recent newsletters, you shared articles by, do you know the woman's name? I can't recall.
Tara McMullen.
Yes. Right. Yeah. Insanely long, but so smart. I mean, incredible. And you find this stuff. How do you find it? What is, how did you train yourself?
People send it to me now.
People send it to you now. But before, right? How did you train yourself to find the things that your audience was actually looking for?
I actually, to be fair, am completely selfish. I read everything I want to read. And then I get a bit of a spidey sense of, if I think something's particularly cool, then, well, the odds are pretty good that other people will find it cool too. I spend a lot of time on Reddit. Often buried within the posts and comments, people will link to things. If somebody has the guts to link to something on Reddit, it's probably good, because otherwise they're going to get downvoted to death.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So if somebody has the guts to link to a link, it's probably pretty good. I used to be into Wikipedia and things, but yes and no. I often simply, I do a lot of Googling. I need to know the why of everything. Not everything that I encounter, everything that irritates me, everything that bothers me, everything that feels like a puzzle that hasn't been solved yet. I want to go and find out everything everyone has ever said about it.
Everything.
And in that, usually some things are amazing.
Yes. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And I love what you just said, right? I just follow what I'm interested in, which makes me wonder, should everybody who basically has an Ittybiz market to themselves, right? As in, should their audience be comprised of people like them?
I'm not willing to say always, but often enough, yes. It is certainly the easiest method to market. It requires the least amount of cerebral labor and second guessing. One of the reasons why people have such a hard time with marketing is uncertainty. They have an idea, and this idea could be, should I link to that book in my newsletter? Like, this doesn't have to be epic. And they second guess because they're not sure. And if you're operating on the default assumption that your people are like you, whether that's accurate or not, it removes a huge amount of the cerebral labor of trying to figure out what is the best thing to say, how to say it, how to send it. You don't have to make avatar worksheets.
Yeah.
It takes a huge amount of the effort out of it. And that's a big priority for me. And the way I coach and teach marketing is, there are people who are very good at making very good marketing decisions, strategies, etc. But they are generally a lot of work. And my people are wearing too many hats to be able to do that much work.
Yeah, to do that much work in one dimension.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I think also it's just so much more fun if your people are pretty much like you, as in, you just have to get to have a great time with your audience.
Yeah, my audience is a group of incredibly cool people that I get to hang out with.
Yeah. How fun is that, right? And I love that when we think about careers, like having a smart brain, being ADHD, autistic, all the things, like thinking about what the fuck am I going to do then? Because having a regular job may not be the most viable option.
Yeah.
You actually built this insanely successful business. Not only, do you make money doing something you obviously enjoy, but also you get to hang with amazingly fun people.
Yes. And especially as an introvert, as somebody with neurodiversity. So I don't know how to make friends. I don't know what people want to talk about. I don't even know where those people are, let alone what they want to talk about. And so online, you can be the version of yourself that you want to be. And those who resonate with that will generally, like the Cheerio effect. Yeah. It's not if you build it, they will come. That's bullshit. That's always been bullshit. I think we've officially dismantled that as a culture now.
And by the way, some people may still need to hear this. So for the people in the back,
if you're new,
they will not come.
Yes. If you build it, that is the first step in people coming. The first step of a few extra steps on top of that. Yes. There you go. That one's free. Yes. So, but if you build it, I don't know if I love be yourself. I have a lot of aspects of myself that I am not in public. But,
is such a tainted word now, but yeah.
Be real, be transparent enough, be a relatively consistent version of yourself, relatively consistently. And you keep doing that, then over time, those connections will become stronger, broader, and deeper connections. And then they will start to come and you will build relationships with them and they will send other people and then you'll build relationships with them. So it's kind of like if you build it, they will come.
Yeah, it's a certain point of view, to world domination. It takes a while, but
we're getting there. We're
getting there for sure. Another reason I loved your stuff when I discovered it is it's just so much fun. I mean, seriously, right? There's so much cheekiness and joy. And I still use your, I don't know what it's called. Is it Copywriting 101? You used to have a copywriting course, which was insane. I mean, I don't know if it's still for sale. If it is, people go grab it because it's just the best thing ever. And I mean, just if you recall, can you just take us through what you did there?
Absolutely. I think it is. I'm not willing to say this on recording. I'm on a recording. I don't know, but I think it is in my freebie vault. I think there is version of it that still exists. I'll look around after
I paid good money for this and it was worth it.
So this was originally called, and this was one of those early career ADHD, we're doing this right now. And it was originally titled Copywriting for People Who Categorically Don't Want to Become Copywriters When They Grow Up.
That's when I bought it. Exactly. I was like, yes, that's me.
And it was a reactionary backlash. I just decided to just take the piss. I was so irritated because there was a rash of copywriting stuff coming out at the time. And it was sort of building upon a sort of existing canon in the industry of copywriting, alleged copywriting courses that were actually about how to get copywriting clients, how to bill them, how to change your rates, how to do all those kind of things. And I was just sitting here going, most of the people who need to write copy don't ever want to start a copywriting agency, don't you? And the silence of the people around me being like, yeah, you lost me. I'm like, well, then we're doing this. All right, we're making a product. Let's do this. And so it was just an attempt at a really fun way of making copywriting accessible and taking away all of the myths and the legends it's just like, it had become so scary and so hard. And so at the time, copywriting was very, very science focused rather than art focused. And so these poor little Ittybiz owners.
Very boring.
Oh God, yeah.
Right. So
and these
boring.
poor little Ittybiz owners who are just like, I'm an art coach. And they're being told about A/B testing and tweaking the headline and whatever. I'm like, this is bullshit.
Yeah.
Like, that's not even kind of true. And so I decided to make a backlash product.
So good. And it was, I mean, one of the craziest things in there. I mean, I'm not going to spoil like the surprise, but I think in the back you had something for a prompt for every day of the year.
Something. It was just like, I don't know what to do. Let's ridiculously over deliver. I love it.
And it was so good. And I think that is like what I love. You just, everything you create, I just feel the sheer joy that you had whilst creating it. Right.
Yes.
That just really comes off. And that, not only is it fun to use the product, I mean, and all the stuff you make is just really solid and really good, but it's also just so much fun. I'm like, you're like, did she really do that? Yes, she did.
Push the envelope.
100%. And I have to admit, like when I just found you, I think for the first entire year, I kept every single one of your emails, your newsletters. I filed them because you were the only person who wrote newsletters that weren't boring.
Thank you.
Seriously.
Thank you very much. Yeah. But you know what? I've tried boring. Periodically, I will get it in my head. I will be overcome with a fit of self-loathing. And I will decide that I am supposed to do things the normal way.
The proper way. Yes, I've been there.
Yeah. And the folks at home, I don't know how much you subscribe to messages from the universe, but if you do, the amount, the rapidity, and the publicness of my failing came so fast and so hard every time that eventually I'm pretty good at pattern recognition. Soon enough, you got to go, you know what, if I try to do this right, the universe is going to hand me my ass.
Yeah.
So I just eventually went, I'm just going to keep doing it my weird way, and I'll just keep trusting, I guess.
I have to say, I do, like, interestingly, I do repeat this mistake, or I have repeated this mistake, as in when I started my coaching business, again, my brain said, oh, let's have like an adult business. Let's do it properly. And
good luck with that. But it's
awful.
A necessary part of the process. I think it's just part of the cycle. There has to be a bit of regression, and you have to go, no, you know what? I'm going to do it right this time. I'm going to be a grown up. I'm going to be, And then, it's a huge embarrassing failure. And I just have this idea in my head that I have a certain number of my readers who watch this and watch it go, yeah, she's doing it again. It's fine. She'll be better in a month or so.
Is that phase again?
It's fine. It's a phase. She'll be over it soon enough. She'll be back to herself again.
But I do think this may actually be a superpower of smart neurodivergence, that we just can't. I mean, we'll have a little fit of, we should do it properly and go an adult a little bit, and then we'll just be like, no. Our entire system will be like, I cannot do this, refuses to do it, won't get out of bed anymore, like all the things. System shut down, basically.
Yep.
We just can't.
Yep. It just can't. No, just can't.
It's unbearable, which, I mean, it's both good and bad, right? We can't really, I mean, so many people, I've changed career so many times, and always people would say, like when I was still in corporate or working in politics, people would say, oh my God, you're so brave. I can't believe you're taking this step so boldly into the unknown. And I would think, if I stay, I will physically die, right? Like I will get very sick. And I just feel that already. I just have to get the fuck out of here, because otherwise I'm just completely depressed. All the other things. So is that brave, or is it just not an option? You tell me.
It's just, that's it. It's not an option. I understand what people mean when they say that. I didn't used to, but I've been working on my, ever since the
understanding of other humans.
I've been working being like, okay, understand other people. Yep. We hear it like, you are so brave to stop sitting on that hot burner. And I'm like,
it's a perfect metaphor. Oh my God.
Right?
Yes.
And you just learn to politely go, thank you so much. And in your head, you're like, I'm not going to tell you about the burner. You don't need to know. Yeah. So they say,
and they
you're
even
so
give
brave.
you books, right? When you leave and stuff. So that's nice.
Yeah. And then you get free books. So that's cool. Yeah. Yes, it is not brave to leave absolute agony of which your brain is quite aware and screaming at you from every available neurotransmitter. For the love of God, get out.
Yeah. This is not a place to be with your type of brain.
No.
So looking back, right, what is one of the weirdest things or the weirdest stories you have from those early wild days of the blogosphere, or maybe a little bit later?
Sure. Okay. That's a fun one. Good question. Well, one of the things that was a huge surprise challenge for me was conferences were really, really big back then. And keep in mind that the online business circle was very much, it was a ladder. It was not a web. There was a scene. It had a hierarchy. It had cool kids. It had not cool kids. It had A-list. It had B-list. It was like the world's biggest middle school back then.
Oh,
okay.
Horrible.
And so you went to conferences to suck up to people who were higher on this made up hierarchy than you. Mm-hmm. And I am not an extrovert, but I do enjoy the energy and the sort of hyperactivity of travel. So I was pretty into that. And so I went. So there's 2 conferences in a row, I think. I forget the details, a long time. But I'll tell you. So the first conference I ever went to, I realized that I had completely bitten off more than I could chew. I was massively overwhelmed. There were so many people. It was a sensory nightmare. But of course, I hadn't even bothered to consider that because I wouldn't have known, right? Prior to that, I didn't do anything. I was poor and young. I didn't exactly go to conferences. And so anyway, so I'm at the Austin, like the convention center in Austin, Texas. And I'm sitting in an empty hallway. And I'm sobbing. Like I'm not even trying.
Just completely melting down, basically.
Yeah. Just a complete meltdown because I'm away from home and the jet lag is killing me and I don't know anybody and I can't find anybody. Oh, it was a nightmare, right? So of course the best thing to do is get drunk. And as I do, so I go to, there's a Tex-Mex margarita bar close by. It's like, I don't know, it's like 11 o'clock in the morning. And
they're open because this is Austin, Texas.
Exactly. So I'm like, yeah, I think that this is exactly why God made margaritas. So I go and I decide to, I don't know, drink myself to death. And eventually a few people who I knew sort of wandered in and whatever. Anyway, so then a colleague of mine shows up. Her name is Laura. And she's there with a guy that I don't recognize. And he's very social and she's very social. It's all very social. And I mean, I've had a couple of drinks at this point, but I'm still okay to be out in public. Mm-hmm. And I'm trying to figure out how to find out their like relationship. Like, is he her like plus one? Is he the boyfriend? Is he some hanger on? You know, whatever. And for whatever reason, I honestly cannot figure out how to get this information. And so I ask whatever I ask, and you can tell both of their faces have no idea what I'm talking about. And then I try and ask again, and they're just, I don't know. I guess I was just trying to be artful with my language, or I was a little drunk. And so I'm there with one of my friends, and there's these 2 here. And finally I'm like, okay, I guess what I'm really trying to figure out here is, are you here on your own merits, or are you sleeping with Laura? And they kind of smile and they laugh, and they obviously are so good natured about it. And the guy takes a deep breath and he says, well, my name is Derek Sivers and I created CD Baby. And I think he was like giving a keynote or something at that South by.
Right.
My friend beside me apparently is a huge Derek Sivers fangirl, freaks out, waves her arms. Her margarita goes into his lap.
Oh my God.
Which she then starts trying to clean up. And it was just one thing borrowed another. And it was an amazing moment. And I have so many others where the world was becoming, it's very much like AI is happening now. The world was changing so fast, and there were shifts in the power balance, and people who would never have been able to meet got to meet, and those kind of things. And anyway, so that's one thing.
But hang on, because I just want to dive into that a little further, because I love that. And I think those early years of the blogosphere were the perfect environment for smart people who didn't have a lot of privilege, right?
Yeah.
To actually make a name for themselves, to start an amazing business. And I think exactly the same thing is happening now.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, very much so. That smell is in the air again, and that hasn't been for a long time.
I know. It's so exciting, people. So if you're not on it, get on it. Seriously.
Yeah, seriously, people. The time to start is now. There was a fallow period for a while there where it was actually quite difficult to start a business. But if you're thinking of it, now it's a good time to go.